Hello, I'm Mark Moore. Today we have a local singer-songwriter with roots in folk music. He's here to perform a few original songs for us and talk to us about his musical journey. Coming up on Undertones and More.
I'm going to play one of my first songs that I ever written. It's called the Barnyard Song.
Just the way I wanna be. Hey, hey, free and easy. That's just the way I wanna be. Oh, oh, free and easy. That's just the way you ought to be. I wanna be free, yeah. I wanna be me, yeah. I wanna see me, yeah. Na na na, na 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 na. In the streets of New York City, crowd envelops me, and they shout, "Can you see the real me?" I wanna be free, yeah. I wanna be me, yeah. I wanna see me, yeah. Na na na. Na 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 na.
The next song is a song that I wrote with a great friend of mine from college called On the Line.
Do you feel the way I do? Are you looking for a home? A place in the sunshine, far away from the cold. No more northern winters, oh no. No more running from the chill. There's a place in the sunshine, and it's waiting for us still. Ooh, la 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 la. Ooh, la 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 la. Yes, I've been through those lonely nights, and I've been on the line. But tomorrow will be a new day, and I'll find that highway sign. Lady luck, sometime a lover, when you're carrying a load. No matter where you're going, it's still a mile long down that road. And I can do so much better with a friend to share my plan. If you're on the line looking for a better time, come on with me now to the southern sand. Ooh, la 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 la. Ooh, la 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 la. Yes, I've been through those lonely nights, and I've been on the line. But tomorrow will be a new day, and I'll find that highway sign.
So this is a song called Feeling Life Changes, and I'm going to go with this.
Sitting here on a rock, I feel the earth moving, watching the leaves fall by. Looking round the changing sound, looking every direction, watching the colored leaves fall by. Can you see where I've been? Feeling life changes. You see where I've been, feeling life changes. Seeing through the images that I seek inside the water, knowing that there's only fish inside. The ripples of a stream, they're sending a message to me, lapping against my feet so high. Can you see where I've been? Feeling life changes. Can you hear what I feel? See what you think? And knowing that there are changes. I'm here on a rock, I feel the earth moving, watching the colored leaves fall by. Sitting here on a rock, I feel the earth moving, watching the colored leaves fall by. It touches a part of you, oh, it's plain to see life changes. Life changes. It touches a part of you. Oh, it's plain to see life changes. Life changes.
On today's episode of Undertones and More, I'm joined by Ray Thomas. Ray is a program director at Young Adult Vocation Program, as well as a talented singer-songwriter. Ray, welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Now, talk to us a little. Now, you're no stranger to the ACMI studio. You've been here before shooting a quick segment about YAVP and what you do. Do you want to just give the audience a little background as to what you do as a program director?
Of course, sure. Well, at the Young Adult Vocational Program, it is a program that we have as a place for young adults to come and work on their goals. And, I try to offer them a safe environment and figure out with them what is it that they want to achieve. So they have hopes and dreams, and we then take those hopes and dreams and try to put into some practical step format so that they can achieve their hope and dreams. So that's kind of what we do.
That's great, very empowering. And you, on top of doing that, you also have your music, which you've been playing ever since you were a child. So
correct.
Let's get a little background here.
Okay.
When you first started, can you remember, you said to me earlier on that you sort of have been exposed to music since a very young age. When's the first time that you were exposed to music, and was there ever like a spark that sort of began your journey?
That's a great question. I mean, I remember as a kid when I would visit my grandparents up in Canada, they would have the local fiddler come in and play kind of fiddle music, which was kind of Acadian, Scottish music. And so that was really, really a big deal in our family because that was something that I remember. But also my father playing his guitar at night when he'd come home from work, that also, it kind of made me like, oh, I like that sound, Gee, he used to play, when we'd go to bed. So he would be still playing his guitar, and I remember drifting off to sleep, as he played. So it was kind of cool.
It's kind of like almost like ingrained in your brain.
Yeah,
almost.
yeah,
Like
it was what I grew up with. Ever since I was a child, we've always been around. My dad playing some music, or the family having musical get-togethers with people that were around at the time.
Right. Now, so when was the first time you sort of performed live? Did you pick up the guitar first and just sort of play on your own for a while, or did you kind of?
To leap to live like that was, like I tell my young adults, you have to take it one step at a time. And so I just remember, when I started taking lessons, I would practice at home. And I hadn't really knew how to sing at the time. So I felt like as, I heard the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, I wanted to kind of play that kind of music. Rather than sort of the other, Mel Bay type music that didn't really make that much sense to me. So I would make sure when everybody left the house, I would lock the door and put down the windows and everything, and I would start to record my voice. And over time, I felt like I had a pretty decent voice, and then I sort of would play for my parents, obviously my family. I remember playing with my brother who played the drums, so we played a lot together. And over time, we gradually went from at home to gatherings, 50th gatherings, anniversaries, to then, because I was brought up Catholic, I was in a parish that was very progressive, and it was around the time of folk masses, which was really cool, and I had the ability to bring my music to the church, and so we would get together with a group of people who liked to play guitar. So that's where I began to play in front of other people beyond just my family.
Right.
And then beyond that, when I went to college, I got to meet a lot of cool people who play guitar, and we started open mics at the Catholic Center at Bridgewater State College at the time. So it was a very cool experience to, be with other people who are very talented, and to, you kind of share music, and you start to learn each other's music, and you create music. And it was just an exciting time.
Absolutely. Now, when you say when you started performing at your local church, since it was a progressive church, was the music that you were playing, was it original pieces, or, because when you think of like music sung in a church, it's sort of evokes kind of like a a gospel or like praising the Lord and all that kind of stuff, which
Yeah.
I'm sure you've done, but was
Yeah.
it sort of a mix between like being being devout and showcasing your own talent?
Yeah. No, that was the trick, I think, was to find, music that was geared towards the gospel and also for the church at the time. So there were some Christian music that we learned, but then I also would hear some current folk music that was out there, or even some rock music that seemed to work in the setting. So we'd bring, modern music at the time, and we'd pick and choose what seemed to, work in that setting. So
Right.
yeah,
That's
it was
really
a combination. Cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It seems like a really kind of creative space where
Yeah.
you can really meet people and experiment a little. That's great. I want to ask you about your music in terms of the sound. If you had to describe to someone who's never heard your music before, what genre or sound that your music is, what would you say to them?
I mean, I think it's really kind of a folk type of music, maybe indie sort of, if you want to use the term from today, what people
Right.
think of indie music. But yeah, I would say it's really folk.
Right. And now, in terms of music that's inspired you, you've mentioned the Beatles before.
Oh, yeah.
Is there any artists in particular or groups when you were growing up that really sort of stuck with you or inspired you musically, or have you sort of developed it from like a bunch of different artists?
I've been so influenced by so many different artists, and I hear it in my music, like The Who in particular. There's David Bowie, who I also admired very much, Elton John, Cat Stevens, just a myriad of people that I can say, I can nod my head towards, influence.
Right.
So.
That's great.
Yeah.
So going back to talking about you working at YAVP, do you at all incorporate your music into any sort of programs, or do you encourage members to pursue music? Is that something that you can use possibly as like almost like therapy? Do you ever use
that's
it?
a great question, because young people are experimenting, and we try to figure out what is it that they are motivated to do and what's their skills, and so music is top of what we do. In the past, I had used my guitar in my playing, and I used to do that at the program. I'm rethinking to maybe return it to the program, but there's a gentleman named Stephen Shade, who's a music therapist, who I had heard about and brought him into the program. So he comes pretty much weekly to sit down and promote some good music.
So right, I understand you brought a series of guitars with you today.
I did.
Is there a meaning behind those?
Well, yes. One in particular is my dad's 1947 Gibson, and when I was a child, I would grab the guitar when he wasn't playing to see what I could do with it, and of course I kind of damaged it a little bit.
No.
But that guitar is really brings back a lot of memories when I do play that guitar, which I did today. So yeah, that was cool.
If you had to give a piece of advice to any young artist in today's world, let's say, for example, they want to be a musician. They're trying to pick up the guitar for the first time and, are maybe a bit timid and shy, as you once were when you first started. What piece of advice could you give to them to, inspire them to really pursue it?
I mean, one of the things about playing the guitar is, your connection with the music and the people that play it. So if you happen to have a friend or a cousin or anyone in your life that does play music, it's a great place to start, just to kind of hear about their experience and what they would suggest. I mean, I played and took lessons, so that was the way I first began. But you know, I would say where I really learned a lot from other people when I was in college, and that gave me the inspiration to continue to, you know, stay with it. So that would be my advice.
That's great advice. Now, in terms of the process of writing your own music and you know, sort of fleshing out the songs, shall we say, is there a particular mindset that you sort of go into when you're writing a song? You know, does inspiration sort of come naturally to you, or does it depend on, like, you know, do you have to sort of like lock yourself in a room and just write away? You know what I mean? Is there any sort of methods that you do to write songs, or is it strictly when it happens?
Everything that you just said. I mean, sometimes it is just being in a room and there's nobody around and you're just kind of getting into playing your guitar. Sometimes what happens to me was I would end up at some location that I like to go to and visit. I have my guitar with me. So for an example, one of the songs that I wrote, Feeling Life's Changes, happened to be in the fall. There were leaves falling around me. I was near a body of water with a little waterfall, and I just sat on this rock as I wrote, and I just really felt an inspiration to write about that moment, thinking about my life, you know, and where I am, you know, psychologically at the time, I guess. Another time, this is a very funny story, I, you know, lived by the ocean in Manamet, and I didn't have a TV, I didn't have a phone. I was really in a kind of a hermit kind of mode, but it was purposeful because I wanted to really get into my music. So one day what I would do is I'd walk the beach, and a tune came into my head. I started humming it. I guess that's how it began. And then I was thinking about a couple of young people that I knew personally, and so the lyrics started to come to mind. I didn't have a piece of paper or a pen with me, so I wrote the lyrics in the sand, high up enough because I knew the tide was coming in, and I ran back to the house and came back, and so I grabbed the lyrics out of the sand and put it down. So that's how that happened.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. God.
It was kind of fun.
You can imagine that as like sort of the image of, like, you know, if you didn't do that fast enough, that song would have just been washed away.
I know. I was like, oh, I got to get back there so I won't forget it. You know?
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
I understand that you actually just recently picked the guitar back up. You had about a 15-year break for a while.
That's correct.
Why was that? Was there any particular reason?
Well, if you had known me many moons ago, I, you know, related to people by playing the guitar, and as I matured and felt more comfortable being in social situations, I guess my reliance on the guitar sort of lessened in a sort of a natural way. And then life goes on, and, you know, moving from the suburbs into the city also kind of changed my way of thinking about the guitar. I didn't feel as inspired. I felt closed in. I felt like I couldn't play or get in touch with the spirit of playing the guitar. But I had a recent interaction with a good friend of mine from college, who he and I had played guitar and did some songs, whatever. So he came by and he was like, "Hey, Ray, play the guitar," and I was like, oh shoot, I can barely remember half the stuff I did. I was so embarrassed.
Oh my God.
So he came and he actually offered up one of his 40 guitars. And I said, gee, thanks, that's awfully generous of him to give that guitar to me, which is also here at the studio.
Right.
So I made it a point, I promised myself that I'm going to play and I'm going to get back to it, relearn what I was stale on, hopefully remember some older songs that I had written. And I knew after meeting you here about 2-3 weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, that you wanted to highlight music, and it gave me another incentive to, really get to, it's a goal, and here I am, I played some music that I remembered, and it was it's all been really great since you know, the catalyst of my friend saying, you know, come, let's play some music, and I was like, oh, darn.
It's like an unexpected thing. It just sort of came back into your life. Because were you ever planning on returning to it, or were you just sort of happy where you were at the time?
I mean, well, because my friend Bud, you know, whenever I would see him occasionally, because he lives in Connecticut with his family, so I don't get to see him. But when we would talk, or occasionally when I'd see him like once or twice a year, you know, there was that pang of, oh gosh, you know, I should really be playing. Or when I'd go visit him, of course, he has his own studio and all these guitars, and we'd be jamming, you know, for that weekend. But then I would sort of get away from it again. So. Right. His influence is really, really important, and yeah.
There you go. So I guess going forward, do you plan on writing more songs and continuing to make more music, or do you plan on maybe experimenting with a different genre other than folk? What do you see yourself doing for the next, say, 15 years musically? I know it's kind of a broad question, but you know, since you've picked it back up, do you see this as a continuing?
Most definitely, yeah. No, I want to continue playing. I'm trying to branch out, learn more current music, which I haven't done in over 30 years. I have some music that I had somewhat forgotten the chord arrangement, so I may try a hand at maybe putting some new chords or music to these you know, past songs that I can't recall. So, but I do. I want to be able to do this and moving forward, and maybe get on an open mic out in Malden. I hear there's a cool place to go.
I hear the same thing. Does so you clearly, you know, since actually it's kind of interesting, like since you said doing this show, kind of getting yourself out there again and getting back to music is starting to give you more confidence, and that's great to hear that, you know, you're eventually will feel comfortable enough to go to open mic nights.
Yeah, most definitely. I want to thank you so much for, you know, this opportunity, because I don't think I would have done it unless we had, you know, crossed paths here at the studio. So, you know, you're kind of bringing that up and, you know, saying, hey, what do you think? And I thought, ooh, that's something that kind of made me nervous, you know, but I thought it's a good nervous. It's important for me to move forward with this. So it was great.
Well, it's great, and I'm so happy to have you on here. And I think good things are, you know, to come for you in the future with music.
I appreciate it.
And thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, absolutely.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you guys for watching Undertones and More. We'll see you soon.